ITC we have discussed, but the stock which has gone up 7% today is Tata Motors. Pathik Gandrotra joins in from IDFC SSKI. Pathik, why does Tata Motors deserve to go up 7% today?
I think the issue is that, first of all, the excise hike was not as much as feared. That is one. And two, I think all the moves that the government is making around infrastructure, I think does augur well for demand for CVs in the long term, because I think a booming capex cycle does augur well for commercial vehicles. Plus, I also think some GLR numbers have come today, which are, I think, positive. That may also be the reason.
Yeah, I think Tata Motors reports their consolidated numbers today.
Yes.
They already have. Look good. Did you have a look?
It's positive.
Yeah.
They've actually shown some profit.
Coming from you, maybe I should take that as a big thumbs up. Pathik, afternoon, the one that's down 7% is ITC. Have you guys collated the net impact by way of what this may mean for a price increase and whether it hits volumes at all?
No, I think Nikhil was just on your show, and I think we think that the volume growth will not be able to make up the 5 to 6%. I think it will be lower than that. Not yet done the numbers on the exact volume growth, but I think that's one stock where we clearly think we'll cut our numbers for the year.
Dharmesh, the divestment target is 40,000 crores for the current year. Is that conservative, optimistic or realistic?
I would say a little optimistic. I would not say it's conservative for sure. But the last divestment of REC has done very well, if you can see the prices today also, and the kind of demand it generated at the price band which it happened at. So I would say it's a little bit optimistic, but achievable. If the market support you and the pricing is right, I think so it is achievable.
What do you think the pipeline for the first quarter of the next financial year will look like, Dharmesh, in terms of government offerings?
I think the NMDC is somewhat which looks like happening in this first quarter. And I think the rest has to happen in the next fiscal year.
Pankaj, do you think this budget has much by way of devil in the detail, or do you think you pretty much can see what's happened? There should not be any great adjustments on Tuesday when we come back.
No, I think, like I was saying to the first question, I think some numbers do look stretched. They will be, I mean, the divestment number that you mentioned, even the 3G number, auction number, that looks a little bit high. The tax revenue, the tax receipts estimates for next year look a little bit high. But I guess the question is, has the stretch factor gone up versus the prior years? Probably not. So hopefully, there is some amount that we all know gets built into all this stuff. So adjusting that steady, I think it was still nice that to see them place so much emphasis when the world is talking about pulling back on stimulus would be a big mistake. Here we still talked about bringing spending, the rate of growth down, and talking about getting down to 5.5%, and at least he's talking about moving the below line items up. We'll see if that really pans out or not. But the fact that there was so much emphasis by this government on these issues was heartening, and I think it's a change at least from what we saw last year.
Anand, there's two opinions on the government looking more carefully at giving banking licenses to some of these NBFCs. Did you read that as a positive?
Broadly, yes, but I think the market's ignoring the fact that RBI's stated policy is not to give banking license to NBFCs which are run by large industrial houses. Now, unless that substantially changes, I don't think that all the stocks that have gone up on the basis that they'll suddenly become banks will actually become banks.
Yeah, Reliance Capital shot up soon after the news came in. Yeah, that belongs to an industrial house.
IDFC and IFCI are the other two.
Yeah, I don't know whether all of them want to become banks. IFCI does want to, but they're still holding 8 to 10% kind of gains. Ratnesh, any serious upgrades or downgrades you would want to do? I'm not talking about small earnings tinkering because of excise changes, but on the back of the budget, any changes in assumptions for revenues or something as material as that?
Yeah, I think what you'll find is that for the immediate impact will be slightly negative in terms of the aggregate market forecast because of the income tax changes.
So Sensex EPS will be adjusted downwards?
Just slightly downwards, 0.5%, something like that. Yeah, it's not going to be meaningful.
Material.
What you will find is that a lot of the consumption impetus which has been given, that will begin to get reflected in forecasts down the road. It won't happen immediately. People will feel good about the fact that at the lower end there is lot more surplus in the hands of the consumers, and that will ultimately come through. But it'll start reflecting in forecasts after a bit of a lag. But I think the bigger point which is there from this budget is that your first step to fiscal consolidation has started. We have a very, very strong view on fiscal deficit, that as your economic cycle recovers, as you have revenues from KG Basin, all of that stuff coming through, you could even have FY13 fiscal deficit, we've estimated, to as low as 2-3%, 2-2.5%. So you are in a long-term trend of fiscal consolidation, and what is encouraging to see is that even though the rollback of the stimulus is not as aggressive as some of the markets might have feared, but we are firmly on the way of fiscal consolidation. So that is the most positive thing that I take away from this budget, and the reflection of that in exact company or sector earnings forecasts will happen over a period of time.
Sure. Pathik, we were just talking about the MAT impact for companies, and I think Telecom has been impacted quite negatively, the hit that they take. Have you guys done any preliminary analysis on how this affects Telecom?
2 to 3% numbers will be cut roughly.
Does that change your call on the sector though? I mean, how are you guys stanced on it?
No, we were negative on the sector in any which ways, and I think we'll continue to remain negative.
All right, gentlemen, let's take a break on that note.
Mr. Bhatt, what's your sense? I mean, is the verdict 4,900 and thereabouts, and this is not one which is, forget 5,300, going to nudge us even beyond 5,000 come next week?
That's what I think, because basically it's not really broken that range. One, and second, as we go along, even though there's a lot of energy after the budget in the market, as it were, all the good things that people have talked about. But I think a couple of things that we need to see is that the net of direct and indirect taxes, I think something like about 20,500 crores is the net inflow into the government's kitty. And with that, there are so many sort of investments that are being made in the rural sector, in so many concessions that are being given. Quite clear that the finance minister is resting a lot of his hopes on non-tax revenues, that is 3G revenues and divestments and the like. So I think these are all events that are not very certain. So these might happen, might not happen, or might be delayed. So I think there is an element of trepidation that is seeping in now as far as the budget is concerned, and I think over the next 3 days people will sort of rummage through all the fine print and see probably on Tuesday that things may not be actually all that good, and there might be lots of assumptions which are subject to reasonable doubt. So therefore I think the ranges are likely to be broken, 4,700 to 50-50 sort of a range. I think it will be from somewhere there, with probably with more details on Tuesday. Maybe there might be some more trepidation about how good the budget was.
Mr. Bhatt, the point though about the market is that beyond a point it hasn't cracked. I mean, this past month we've been range bound, but we haven't broken the range. Has the budget in that sense been a no damage budget, in that we hold on to our range and then what we do is curtsy global markets?
Well, indeed that, because as of now it's sort of met the expectations of the market. In fact, probably more than met the expectations of the market on the first reading, and so therefore the market is slightly up. But the shelf life of the budget will be not more than 48 hours. So therefore, come sort of Tuesday evening, we will be back to the Greek tragedy and the pigs dance and stuff like that. So therefore, budget would be history by then. So therefore, whatever analysis that needs to be done will be done over the weekend, and by Tuesday we will probably have the final verdict on the budget, as it were. And the final budget and the final verdict, I presume, would ensure that the range is still not broken.